Welcome to Research Matters with Unda and Kuda, an online show that is all about communicating the research taking place at NUS in efforts to promote the university's research agenda and the impact thereof.
It is exactly 11:15, and if you just logged on, welcome to Research Matters. And of course, this is the show that we... Wow, why am I struggling this morning? Let's start again. If you're just logging on, welcome to Research Matters with Unda and Kuda. This is again the show where we just talk about different research matters as well as innovation. Now, of course, this morning I am not by myself. I'm joined by my lovely host, and that is Kuda, and she'll be introducing our guest for this morning.
You know, before I even start, it's cold.
It's cold.
It's cold, and I think this is really just ushering us into the new season that's coming up, eh?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that's why my tongue got stuck a little bit. It was
the sun is gone. The
we're
one we take for
adapting.
granted.
Exactly.
It's great. As always, I'm excited to be here. Now, in studio today, we have Dr. Nicodemus Angula. He's a lecturer in the Department of Governance and Management Sciences in the Faculty of Commerce, Human Sciences and Education. Dr. Nicodemus Angula, welcome.
Thank you for inviting me, and Kuda and Uda.
Yes,
you got it right. Such a tongue twister.
And to the listeners as well.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
No, we're
awesome.
honored to have you in studio this morning.
Awesome. Now let's just dive right into it. Who is Nicodemus?
Dr. Nicodemus.
No, but you know what? Before
there was
a doctor, there is a Nicodemus. But before all of that, who is Nicodemus?
Okay. As I was introduced, I'm Nicodemus Angula. I was born in the northern Namibian village of Ongola and Etanga. Out of my 11 siblings, I'm the fifth, and
11.
You have a big family.
Wow.
Yes, yeah, we 11, and as I said, I'm the fifth, and in the early 1992, I registered at Kauluma Combined School, one of for primary, and. In between, things did not go well, and I discontinued my study. I stopped not going to school, and was
it at primary level? Or
that was at the
school?
primary level, and discontinued my studies in 1993, between 1993 to 1994. So, like other village boys, I decided to drop out school, because in my family, I was the only one who didn't want to go to school.
And now you're a doctor.
Yes.
Oh, wow. How rich.
Basically, it's just a motive around the environment where you are growing up. Everybody where I grew up used to go to the cattle post and all that.
Yeah.
And I had also the same spirit
ambitious
to say I need to go to
the cattle post.
To the cattle post and look after my father's
cattle. You know what?
And goats. Yes.
If I can just interject there, I like that a lot. You know, that really just shows us the environment that you're in, what you're exposed to. That's what you naturally gravitate
Yeah, it definitely
towards.
shapes
there's
you.
this bigger picture. Yes, they're talking about education but what you see around you is what becomes your reality. So walk us through. How did you become from, I don't know whether I can call it a cattle lover, then back onto the education track? How did we get there?
Yeah, okay. Getting there, it was more on to say, one of my young sister at that time, 1996, she was going to school. I think she was grade 1 at that time. And then one day she came home with books and the notes. And then I asked her to say, is this yours? Then that's where my journey of going to school started. I also needed to...
You were intrigued by what she was...
Again, environment.
Yeah, that environment. And then said, I have to go there. So what I did was, the next morning, I went to school. with her, and I went exactly in the same grade where she was. Then the teacher asked me, what are you doing here, and how old are you? Yes, and who is this person? And later, the teacher said, maybe you can go to grade 2. So then I went to grade 2, and from there, I found a group of some people from my village, and I joined the class, and I was just there.
Just going with the flow.
Yes, going with the flow, and the whole semester, they call it the terms, terms. I have been just going there, but I was not registered. So the whole term, until one day the teacher, Mr. Petrus Nakanyala, asked me, "What are you doing here? And what is your purpose? What is your purpose?" And so, but the interesting part was that I've been participating in class, and that also encouraged the teacher now to
enroll you.
To enroll me because he started asking me, "What are you doing here? And what is your name?" Every time that I ask something in class, you participate. But I looked at my attendance register; you are not there.
Yeah.
So later, that is where one would say my scholastic journey has started, and up to now So we
spoke about the village. Sorry, I just jumped in there.
Okay.
So we spoke about the village. How did we get to the city? Because clearly there's that transition, right, from the village to Windhoek, I take it. How did we get here?
Yeah. So from the village, moving to Windhoek, I had an uncle, Mr. Kauluma, Andres Kauluma, who came from exile, and he motivated all of us when he came back to Namibia. He's the only brother to my mother.
Okay.
And then when he came back, he actually motivated all of us to go to school. So he started sort of like an awareness that he had been putting in the family. They say educate one person, and then the whole family will be educated. So he started now mobilizing the family to say, guys, you must go to school. And that is the part now where I was explaining to say I was the only one who didn't want to go there. The rest of other people were able to.
Yes.
Are they doctors now? I should ask. Is the entire family just doctors?
No,
Not yet.
Not yet. They have also done their studies, but then I'm the only one who is a doctor at the moment.
Okay.
You know what I like
Different
about
ambitions.
that story? Remember, it's not necessarily how you start,
cold.
how you finish. It's cold. How you finish, and I think that is very interesting. So just now, to take us to your field, because we've spoken about the journey, we've spoken about the village, we've come to the city. How did you find your passion about your studies, the field that you're in right now? And I know it's a very interesting one because there's some IT there, there's some strategic management. Tell us about that.
Okay, so I was actually motivated by one guy. I would say I started my first degree was a Bachelor of Business Information System degree that I did with the National University of Management, and what inspired me to do that course was one of the colleagues was doing the same course, and then I saw him working at the Ministry of Mines and Energy at that time, and I was motivated to say, which means if I do this course, I can easily get a job. So that's one interesting part that actually just motivated me to do that. And then later, I also joined NAST for my master's when I completed my honors degree. So, but the interesting part that I know I like about academics to say I have three qualifications from the three universities in the country. Yes.
Oh wow!
So,
and the best is
NAST, of course.
Thank you. This is what you say, NAST.
Yes, Dr. NAST.
Yes, NAST. That is NAST, IUM, and the University of Namibia. So that's the fortunate part.
So that exposure.
Yeah, exposure to have three qualifications,
Different.
And your PhD is from?
My PhD is from Durban University of Technology in South Africa. So they are Wendy International.
And which field was that?
That was the information communication technology.
All right.
Yes.
Which brings me to my next question. Doctor, you teach information competence. So what does that really entail for someone who's not well versed in this field of study, or even just with those terms, information competency? What are we talking about?
Okay, so information competence is the ability to find, evaluate, use, and communicate information, all its various formats. So it combines aspects of library literacy, research methods, and the technological literacy. So what it simply means is that in information competency, we teach students on how to find information, how to evaluate, ensuring that the information that students are using should be credible information, and it's information that we can actually trust. Evaluate the information and ensure that the information that they use is credible. Information competence also involves web, the evolution of the web, where we are talking about now Web 1.0, 1.2, and the Web 3.0, which is now where, starting back then, the first person developers who developed the web, how we search, how we interact on the internet. We were not having dynamic website like what we have now, Web 3.0, where we have websites where people can actually interact with each other and all that. Before then, it was static. So you can see the content there, but then it does not you can't be able to interact. You can't query. You can't like what we have nowadays. Yes.
Okay, great. Now, I think normally when someone has an IT background, you naturally, this is me speaking from a very uninformed position, pardon me, you naturally think, okay, they're going to be in the IT related faculty, computing, for instance. So how does this cut across? How do you have an IT background, but you're in the management sciences or faculty of commerce, rather? How does that work?
Yeah.
And what is the experience like?
Okay, so my specialist is information technology, but then it's sort of like a marriage now that I find myself operating into actually three different fields of studies, where I would say my research, ICT is one of it, and then in management strategy, and then I would say ICT education or education in general, because I found myself being an educator. So I would say it's actually just an opportunity. I applied for a position under the faculty of Commons, Women's Science and Education, and I actually got. So back then I've been applying to the faculty of Computing and Informatics, but it didn't work out. So which means I've never got. So this was the
right path for you.
Yes. So which means I've been applying and I've never been shortlisted and never attended an interview there. So
the doors were closed. But this is quite interesting, though. It also just speaks to when you have diversified your qualifications, you literally open up doors in other areas. Yes. Exactly. So not only in that one area, but you've got that transdisciplinary approach. So you can enter different doors, if I can put it that way. Now, I'm sure Unda's going to be looking at me real quick to say we need to go for a break.
Yes.
But before we get there, maybe if you can just speak a little bit about your research interests. What are you interested in? Which are the fields that you naturally gravitate towards when you're doing your research? I see when I was reading up on you that you've got over 30 peer-reviewed articles. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Like what I said, my research interest is a marriage between ICT, management strategy, and education. My research interest is centered around the domains, which means that my research that I do integrates knowledge across academic disciplines and with non-academic stakeholders to address societal challenges. So basically what I do now is to say the research that I do is around ICT, is one of my specialty, and at the same time I also do research in business management and management strategy because of the MBA that I did. So now I found myself in two different field of study. But then at the same time, I also have the components of education. So I just completed my postgraduate certificate in higher education last year, and that also made me to be able to do research around ICT education as well. So I just had one paper that was accepted recently, and one of the top journals in South Africa, Progressio journal, and it's actually about to be published now.
Yeah. Before we head on a musical break, Doctor, I see that you're constantly studying.
Do
You
you
just said
sleep?
you did an MBA last year. Is there anything else you feel like you need to tap into? A stone you've left unturned. You've reached the academic peak with your doctorate, but is there anything else that you feel, oh, until I get this, I wouldn't feel accomplished, for example?
Yes.
What would that be for you?
Yeah, so for me, I think I normally classify, how do I say, the world nowadays has become what we call a global village.
Yeah.
And for me to remain relevant and competent at the global level, so I'll continue learning.
You always have to refine yourself.
Yes, yes. So, which means I'll continue learning, and it's only that then I can only stop maybe when I reach the professorship level.
Then he'll find
because I'm
something
still
else.
Then
working.
you'll find something else. I think learning never stops, and that's
Yes.
true. But with that said, let's quickly take a musical break. We will be back on the flip side, and this jam is requested by our very own Dr. Angula, and it's titled "Thank You, Lord, for Your Blessings." This is by Bill and Gloria Gaither. Do stick and stay to Nas FM, where we are reinventing sound.
And welcome back. If you've just joined us, you are listening to Unda and Kuda right here on Nast FM. And live in studio, we have Dr. Nicodemus Angula. He is a lecturer in the Department of Governance and Management Sciences right here at the Namibia University of Science and Technology. Before the break, we were talking about learning more and more and learning. And it kept going on and on.
There's no stop, man. It just
Very
keeps going.
inspiring, very overwhelming, very exhausting, but
Yeah. Rewarding as well.
Very rewarding. That is the key word right there. Now, Doctor, we just want to find out. You've been in the game for a while now, if I can put it that way. What are some of the innovative trends you're seeing in your field right now? From the time you started teaching to now, what has changed? What's the in thing?
I think what is actually now currently now the world is dominated by the artificial intelligence. Back in our days, we were more focused on manual based, going to the library, collecting books and all that. But nowadays you are talking about
e-resources.
Yes, e-resources and all the things, which means the students nowadays can easily access most of these resources anywhere they are. But back then you must go to the National Library, one of the libraries that they have been also using that time. Get to the library, there are no resources and all that. But nowadays people can actually use or access resource anywhere, and without even sometimes physical visiting what the library and all that. So, and you could see that most of the universities are now adopting learning management systems, or are actually using management systems where most of lecturers could upload resources on the e-learning and all that. But back then it was not like that. So you should have physical hard copies to be able to learn. So you should share textbook. Nowadays, if you share a soft copy of a particular textbook, which means every student can have access to such resources. But back then, you should one person should borrow the book for
and then
2
wait
days,
for
and
them to return
yes,
it
wait for
before
them
you
to
can
return. Another person and
signs
so
it
on. You
out.
could see that the world is actually digitalized nowadays.
Now, you spoke about AI. If I can just ask, just from your own personal opinion, Is AI here to replace us and take all our jobs? Because that's what we constantly keep
Everyone,
hearing.
that's
So,
everyone's
the
fear.
No,
Especially when you're graduating.
not necessarily, but these are just tools that are supposed to help us to be able to do our work efficiently. But it doesn't mean that we should not be able to work. So I don't think people should be able to fear to say, like the automated processing robotic that nowadays people are talking about. So that should not make people to fear that they will lose their job.
We should reinvent ourselves.
Yes.
But I think it's also important to note that you will always need the human touch. Because I mean, they can't, a robot, for example, will not have the emotional capacity to help someone through counseling. So I think there will always be that loophole that robotics will not be able to fill, and that's, the one thing that we can take as people and be like, oh, I'll always have a job, I'll find a loophole. But maybe we can look at some of the projects that you're working with, and more specifically, taking note that you are the coordinator of the Mobility Project, which is funded by the European Union. Maybe you can just tell us what this is exactly and why it is important to have a project of this nature.
Okay. This is an interesting project that I'm coordinating here at NAST. This project is a joint project with the other partners or partner universities. This project is more on. We actually wrote a proposal last year. It's a joint with NAST, Namibia University of Science and Technology, then Copperbelt Zambia, Rhodes University South Africa, and then the University of Eswatini, and the NAST Zimbabwe, National University of Science and Technology in Zimbabwe, and then our technical partners is the Turku University in Finland. So it's an intra-Africa mobility project that is more on technology, climate change and technology. How do we bring in technology to be able to mitigate, especially Namibia is a dry country, or let's say certain African countries, we are more experiencing the dry season. So the technology, this the project would want to mitigate challenges that we are facing on the issues of climate change. How do we bring in technology to be able to mitigate the challenges that we are facing in Southern Africa? So this is a funded project, and the project is titled as Grow Green Africa, Building Climate Change, Resilience through Smart Green Technology. So this is basically what this technology is project is all about. So the project is actually aiming to produce about 10, or it will equip about 10 PhD students, 35 Masters of Science students, and Masters of Management, 8 trainees from Southern African region with the competence in green computing technology. So, which means at the same time, the project will also support the mobility of 15 staff members from the 5 participating African universities that I have mentioned earlier. And to date, NAST have already received about $2.8 million from that project. We are just waiting. So soon we are going to advertise. We would encourage our students to apply for that, so that they can study in the area. They will benefit on the scholarships, and also they will be also getting allowance per month. So at NAST specifically, we are going to train about 7 master students. PhD students will be 2 students. And then the numbers of trainees will be one trainees, and then the number of staff mobility, because the project would require staff to go and teach among this university that we are talking about. So in order to exchange. Let's say, for example, if NAS Zimbabwe does not have resources, on the other side, they can actually use, they can send some student here or staff to use the facility. Part of the project will be on that.
Now, I know the call is yet to come out, but would you know or would you be able to tell us at this stage just roughly which fields it will look at? Are they specific, say, natural resources, for instance, or is it going to have that transdisciplinary approach that we're always talking about?
Mostly, it's more focusing on computer, masters of science, masters of computer science, and also masters of management from my faculty now, because since I'm finding myself under Commons and Women's Science Education. So that's exactly what it is. So at the same time, this project will also be able to develop ICT solutions in terms of weather predictions and mitigation technology in terms of weather forecast. So part of what students will do, they will also research in that area so that they can come up with solutions that can mitigate the challenge of climate change that we are facing in Southern Africa.
Okay.
I think that's exciting.
Yes, absolutely. Now, Doctor, do you know how long roughly this project would take place? Or is it a 1-year project, 2-year? Or what is the duration?
This is actually a 4 years project.
Okay.
Yes. So it's a 4 years project that has actually kicked off already 1st of January this year. Yes.
Okay. Absolutely exciting, and we're looking forward to having you in this very same chair when the project is done to see, did we tick our boxes, did we make impact that we promised that we'd be making. Now I see our time is actually nearly up. Now lastly and real quick, if we could just sum it up, what would you say, so that we can just motivate somebody out there, what would you say is the biggest challenge you have ever faced during your academic journey, and how did you overcome it?
Okay, this is a very interesting question, and thank you very much for that. So one of the challenges that I have discovered during my academic journey was to say it has been always a challenge to me. In every program that I enroll, I would always encounter the challenges. So initially, when I applied my PhD,
in Durban, no.
No. Initially, I started with the Namibia University of Science and Technology, and I think things didn't go well at the end. Then I have to go restart all over.
Oh, that's a shame.
Wow. After how many years?
So it's after 2 years.
That's crazy.
So I've done quite a lot of work in the PhD work. I published, I think, about over 7 articles coming out of my PhD work, which are actually indexed with Scopus. So I was nearly done at NAST, and then I have to go restart all over from the beginning, despite all these numbers of work that I've actually done and so on. So that was one of the challenge. But one interesting part is to say I actually never stopped. I continued working, and I overcome this problem through determination, focus, and sleepless nights. So I would say one of the secrets that may be out there is to say I did that concurrently with my MBA. So as assistant,
Doctor, wow.
Yes, as assistant, I actually, my 2 qualifications are actually printed in the same month.
That is
my PhD and my MBA.
Now I'm about to ask you a very serious question. This is a serious one. Do you sleep?
Yeah, do you do anything else?
Are you familiar with sleep?
Yes, I do. So one thing that I've picked up is to say time is there. It's about how you use it.
Time management.
Time management. Actually, time is actually there.
And I'm here overwhelmed by the 8 to 5 and a 2 hour of,
The secret in my academic is to say every day of your life, if you are writing research, you need to type 2 lines or 1 or 2. So that is the secret of it. So you can't do something and then you leave it hanging.
Consistency.
Yes. So if you maintain that consistency, obviously,
You'll get far.
you'll be able to get it through.
Do 2 degrees concurrently. I'm inspired. I'm going to think about it. But nonetheless, that brings us to the end of this amazing podcast. If you didn't learn anything, it's unfortunate because there was such... Wow, man.
No, if you didn't learn anything, you need to rewind and listen again.
Go back, play back. But that does bring us to the end. Thank you so much for tuning in. Of course, don't forget you can check out the details of our next episode of Research Matters with Unda and Kuda by following the Research, Innovation and Partnerships at NAS pages that is on Facebook and LinkedIn, as well as the NAS FM Facebook page, as well as Instagram. Our podcasts are live on our YouTube channel, so in case you've missed any of the previous episodes or you want to catch up on this one, play back. Nah, just do that. But of course, we're signing off with another jam right here in studio. Don't forget, NAS FM is reinventing sound. And of course, we'll be back with another interesting research episode right here on NAS FM. Until then, it is live the life you love.